Okay, thank you, Eric, for giving me the chance. So, welcome everybody. My name is Khalid Hussain, and today in this talk we will try to go deep dive into collaboration, chat-based workspace, Microsoft Teams, security, and compliance. So, a little bit about myself. I'm Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm working in multi-cloud security and operations as an architect. So my core focus is in compliance, governance, and security side. So on the this slide, you have my handle. You guys can follow me on the LinkedIn. I Khalid Hussain. You guys have any question, anything you can discuss with me. So yeah, let's start with the scenario and the use cases. That what's the exactly challenge for the organizations. Then we can go dig deeper into the topics. Because in cloud productivity, as we are growing into the cloud, we have a different silos in the organizations because users having different expectations and corporate IT having different needs and the requirements in terms of manageability, access management, compliance, data governance. That is from the corporate side. But what's exactly the wish of the user? I saw this challenge inside the market. People don't like to use some specific workload, something like that, because people wants to access their resources anywhere. That is common practice in our everyday life. They want to access their work resources, personal resources from any device, any network. They want to collaborate with partners. They want to collaborate with their customers. They want to collaborate with their teammates, but without boundaries. On the other end, corporate ID really need a strong control that they can manage their company resources and protect their data according to compliance by organization, compliance by the regulator, and compliance by the country law. It depends. It's vary based on the requirement. And it's all about not to block the hands of the people, but give them the access, but in secure manner and the limited way. That is a challenge statement in these days. So I show you guys a picture of both sides, user expectation and corporate IT needs, that what exactly organizations needs the controls over there. As we are in Microsoft stack, let's say, or in general, beyond Microsoft, let's say, people wants to have a freedom device choice, Android, iOS, whatever. I assess in my experience that people want to do the IT in non-IT environment. They don't care about the boundaries of IT anymore. And they want to have access easy way, and they want to do their self-service password or self-service group management, whatever. They want to do more automation in the system. But on the other end, protection, governance, and control is much more responsibility on the organization side. So that's actually the real pain point for the organizations. So as you know that in day-to-day challenges, there are different typologies are working on, because we have a private cloud, and private cloud, it brings up with lots of SaaS applications, Office 365, Workday, Salesforce, whatever. And we are using lots of mobile devices and wearables inside our environment, and we are accessing that. And we are using lots of social engineering tools, identities, and our corporate state looks like this now. So in that manner, we really need to look at how we can protect teams, our documentation, our conversations of the files, legal compliance, retention, whatever. That's the background of this talk that I shared in a couple of slides, that how we go it like that. So everyone knows that, I hope. If you don't know, that Microsoft Teams is a hub of teamwork for Microsoft 365. It's a embedded experience of SharePoint, documentation, your conversation, calling, and automation, process management, whatever. There are a couple of chat, Teams, calling, files, and you can build up the applications like apps and the workflow, whatever you want. So it's completely transformation for your organizations. I know sometimes people feel that it's too complex and there are so many features, how we can use that. It all depends upon your business needs, how you control it, how you govern this teams. So let's jump into the topic now. So we will look into team security and compliance deep dive. So there are 5 pillars. We have to look into identity and access management, information protection, discovery and response, and data governance and managing the risks. So each pillar having small details, and I will try to add demo as well. If you guys have any question, please feel free to ask. Definitely we can look into that. So let's start with identity and access management. So regarding identity and access management, it's all about secure control, because these days our perimeters is not anymore network firewalls, network perimeters. It's all about identity and access management, where users can log in, how they can access, what could be their direction. Let's say they're using cloud identities, synchronized, federated, whatever identities they're using, and they have to look that they're using multi-factor authentication or not. So there are several strong authentication methods that are available: Microsoft Authenticator app, Windows Hello, hardware tokens, FIDO keys, security keys, SMS, which it depends upon, again, your organizations, that how you really want to protect the access management. Let's say if I am working from home, I go to the market and I try to log in to my workplace using some shared computers or shared devices. So definitely I need to provide multi-factor authentication that will protect my identity, that someone will not misuse that. And on the other end, in access management, you can control also, it's a behavior or the experience of Microsoft Teams in the real time, that you can protect that based on the conditional access, and you can plan the MAM, like application management, let's say. So it's up to you that you want to enroll the devices, or you want to keep that control just on the application. Like you can give the people freedom that there are 2 types of the devices. Number 1 is bring your own device. That is the most common experience in the organizations, and company provided CYOD, let's say company owned devices. So it's all depends that how you like to go on with that. So for the access of the teams, you can put the granular control in front of your users, that they can follow and they can meet your defined requirements, that they can provide the group membership, that they have access, they can access it securely, and you can take the decision that how they like to access and how they treat access after being authenticated, and what they can do or what they cannot do. So let's jump into a short demo for conditional access. I already created this conditional access template. Let's say I put it some users over here, and I put one user Alex into this policy. So you have lots of controls. These controls you can automate using with PowerShell or with API. Also, it depends, again, how you like to structure your conditional access policies. But these are really strict and hard rules, so you have to really careful about that. So I will put it here like Microsoft Teams. Let's say this is Microsoft Teams. I want to protect Microsoft Teams as a workload, so my frontline workers are different areas of users they can access. So let's say if inside my organization I have iOS, Android, and Windows, let's say, so I can go and control the devices based on OS level. So if someone trying to access my environment using MacBooks, and MacBooks officially not authorized in the organization due to compliance reasons or whatever, so they cannot access that. And you can restrict based on the location. Let's say if your organization or the company is working only within Germany, so you can minimize the risk, actually, that your users can log in only from IP addresses, ISPs originating from Germany, within Germany. If someone is trying to log in from UK, something like that, they cannot log into your system, or someone trying to authenticate into your system, they get also blocked again. If someone is traveling, they need to update you, you can create exception. So yeah, it's up to you. And here you can control that all legacy authentication are, let's say from Ubuntu, you cannot log in. Let's say you can log in on a mobile and apps clients. And here you can say, okay, check the device states also. So it's up to you. And then you say, okay, please require multi-factor authentication. And you can say, okay, if you want to log in, then must provide application protection policy, because if you trying to log in from your personal device and you can provide multi-factor authentication, and there is a data leakage spillage is still chance. So that's why you can design the MAM policy that no one can cut, copy, paste the data from your corporate space into personal stuff like that. So here you can go on with that and you can create the policy. That's how you can protect that. But I have to put it, turn it off, let's say. No, I have to turn this. Minute. So this is how you can generate the policies. But again, if you want to have a strong, more controls, I will come back into that. You can go on and you can check that about session controls also. Let's say into the session controls. So you can go on with that. And you want to control the sessions based on conditional access. You want to block the download of the data based on your conditions. We will see later on that. So this is how you can design the conditional access for Microsoft Teams. So as I mentioned, that inside the Teams, you can invite the users as a guest users. It's up to you. You can monitor them also. There is a federation like external users and invited users. There is a two different stuff of the users. And information protection, that's a very, very important topic for Microsoft Teams, especially. So you can go on and define the data loss prevention, let's say, and you want to protect the data. If, let's say, I'm talking to the externals, my data will be stored for a certain time period, or I want to keep that data based on the project, based on sensitivity level. It's completely up to you how you like to design it. So inside Microsoft 365 or Office 365, you can control Microsoft Teams protection for messages and the files dedicatedly. And if DLP, if someone is trying to share the data, that data is sensitive for the organization, like your PII informations or credit card informations or your passport numbers, whatever you want to define in your DLP, it will give you the real-time error and it will block that message from the sending or sharing with externals. If you really want to do that, you will get this override message, and that message you need to read it carefully, that what it is in it. And if you really want to send this, then you have to provide the business justification to be compliant and relevant according to your organizational policy. So then you have to answer the compliance if it comes up. So just want to show you guys about DLP stuff. Let's say, so here is a DLP. So you can create data loss prevention and you can go on and choose the teams, let's say, and you can pick up any teams and you want to control all teams. It's up to you, or you want to define the policy based on the one team. Let's say I want to put it, let's say, MCAS, just as an example, I put it one account. And next, and here you can say define the rules based on the advanced DLP. Here you can define the rules, whatever, based on the conditions, sender domain, you have a lots of control. So there you can define these rules based on specific domain, specific recipient, contains, conditions, And then you can take the actions also. So you can take the action that restrict the access, encrypt the data inside the office locations, whatever. And then user justifications also, if you want to put it, policy tips, it's completely up to you how you like to design and structure your data loss prevention. And then we will go on and discover and respond. In discovery part, let's say that is a more hot topic these days for data compliance inside the cloud workloads. That in Microsoft stack, we call it like e-discovery. Others also having the similar concepts. So inside e-discovery, Microsoft providing in place e-discovery and advanced e-discovery. So these are the capabilities that you can open the case management. Like if you really want to work with your legal department or data protection officers, so you can define that case and you can put the people on the hold if there are some certain violations or anomalies are inside the organizations, people are not doing the right job, your organization initiate a legal aspect, they want to put some investigations, so definitely you can follow that process. That will help you to meet regulator or local laws that you can interact with your lawyers or work councils or something like that. So e-discovery and hybrid exchange, that's also supported in that, so you can discover that. And inside e-discovery, just as an example, Microsoft storing that Microsoft Teams chat files into your mailboxes, and this chat service stored into, let's say, Azure chat service on the back end, but Exchange Online of your relevant organizations having control over that chat service to be compliant, to be secure inside your mailboxes, each user, what they're talking about, that chat, conversation history, whatever, that being stored inside that relevant mailbox. If person is chatting one-to-one, then it's stored in this way. And if you're creating meetings, then it could be the different scenario. It will go into the relevant sites inside the teams. So let's look into data governance part. In data governance, data governance to retain the data and govern the data, expiry of the data, that's a big challenge for the organization these days, because we are creating terabytes of the data over the years in the business. It's not about just workplace, it's about our different stacks, data analytics, whatever files, and we are having lots of repositories, on-premise file servers, stuff like that. When we are bringing that into the teams or into the workplace, so there we need to really look at how we want to handle this data. Let's say if the organization says so, like we want to keep organizational policy for 10 years, so you need to really go into Microsoft data governance or retention side. There you can pick it up and you can define that one-to-one chat, one-to-many channel messages, files, and OneDrive for business or the SharePoint Online. It's completely up to you that how you really like to structure it. And there is a little misunderstanding in the organizations, as from my experience working in bigger customers, that there is no one stop that you can click and you can retain the data for whole organization. No, there are several steps you have to follow, that you have to define the data retention for mailboxes separately. But there is a one portal. Don't worry about that. I can show that. This is actually information governance. There you can put it retention policies or label-based retention policies. So there are the two type of the policies Microsoft provide in this context. So let's say if I create this one, I will put it like Berlin event. I will copy it. And then you can say static. And then you want to see like this. I want to turn it off. and I want to keep these all teams, meetings, chats, let's say. But keep in mind, there are several ways. Define the policies for Exchange, SharePoint site, OneDrive, one policy, let's say. For Teams and Teams chat, that is general. For private, you have to do it another way. So you have to define layered structure in data governance and data retention. It does not mean that you can go and click everything and you want that, okay, in one policy you can retain whole data. No, you have to look into the businesses, you have to ask the right people that how to define the policy. You really need to build the framework for that, that there you can keep the data. Let's say for Exchange Online, we have one policy and then we turn it off and we go for OneDrive and SharePoint, let's say. And if that's done, and then third policy we will create for Microsoft Teams and the chat. And let's say if we want to keep retention for 1 month for private channels, people want to have some conversation that they don't want to show in the whole Teams landscape, they can just keep that data for 30 days, whatever. So you can keep it up for all users. So this is how you can retain the data, but there up to 4 to 6, 7 policies you need to define inside your organization. So that's how you can retain the data inside your network. Okay. And let's say if I want to keep it this one channel, that's it. And after that, you can define that delete these items automatically. You can say, okay, I want to keep that data for 10 years. After that, delete. So again, it's up to you. You want to define it based on the condition when data is created or data last modified. It's up to you. So that's actually a holistic approach of retention policies. But inside the label policies, there is a little different direction. You can choose the labels, let's say, and here you can say static and name of the policy you can define. But again, you have little less experience over here because here Teams is not covered in it. In this policy, it will not gonna publish to the Teams. So you have to be careful that how you like to define. So let's say if you want to create a label for retention, we can put it like again. What are the retention settings? Again, 7 years, and you can put deposition review as well. Let's say if system trying to delete or wash out the data, that must go to my manager or the compliance officer. They can check that this data must be extended for next 5 years, 10 years. It's really important for the organization. So that's how you can retain the data based on your governance policies or the project priorities or organizational requirements. So let me go a little further. In auditing, as I mentioned, that there is archiving, Archiving is also available, archiving that's stored into your mailboxes. There are legal hold, litigation hold, we can call it in different directions. So it depends upon how you like to go on with that. So there are data retention policies and the litigation hold or legal hold. I can give the general overview, or I can try to sum up in this way that if you want to put retention on your data inside Microsoft Teams, let's say, or into mailboxes or into the SharePoint site, if you apply litigation hold or legal hold, then it will take all kind of data. Might be you are talking with in general personal topics or some updates that are not relevant to organization to hold that data. So in litigation hold or in place hold, it will keep all the data across your workloads. And in retention, there is a specific conditions. Let's say if you see so, like based on the condition, your PII information, your banking data, your passport number, whatever, if your system scroll into that and it sees that there is data that is really critical for organization based on the definition, some file, fingerprints, whatever you define in your policies, that data will be put it on the hold, not all the data. So inside the organization, 40% data must be retained, but 60% is irrelevant data. Depends upon, again, type of the user, type of the department. If finance so, then must put it, let's say, in litigation hold. If someone is just working as a frontline worker or daily wages, something like that, then we really need to go on retention labels and retention policies. We don't need to put their whole data into one chunk. Okay. So in content search, you can optimize content searching also with e-discovery, as I mentioned in the start. So auditing and the reporting, Microsoft having really rich reporting and mechanism in auditing, let's say. So let them content search, you can visualize there are lots of stuff in auditing. Let me check. Yeah, so in data classifier, so you can get this kind of dashboards, activities, and content explorer as well. If you have some kind of DLP issues, something like that. Let's say I have 3 credit card issues, one in OneDrive, one in SharePoint. So you can click it on where this data is stored, so you can check that, okay, and what's going on in this site, and you see there is data inside this source, so you can get exactly at top level that you can check that what's going on inside your organization. You have a really rich reporting and auditing stuff for your organization. So let's say if I want to search the activity of the specific user related to data, that is nothing personal scanning or something like that. It's all about what you are doing inside your organization in day-to-day. If you deleted some data or something like that, so you have to, let's say, failed login, you access some file, something like that, so you can pick it up. Activities, let's say you want to access the files, so you can choose a search. Right now I don't meet this criteria, so let's see, I will go back just as an example. Okay, if I get that data, because that is my demo tenant, so it depends upon that if I access that. So you have a really rich reporting, tracking events, file being accessed, copied, modified, whatever. So there is so many things you can consider on that. Until this results comes up, we can go on. And there are also insider risk, like data spillage, fraud, insider trading, whatever. There are so many use cases out there. Microsoft also added one really powerful feature that is part of E5, that if that is more for financial sector customers or big organization where you want to control the data and communication that not overlap over the business risks or business concerns in related to different departments. It might be like this is a use case, and this is a financial sector advisor. This is HR and investment banking banker segment. So you think that, okay, your organization that they can talk to only via HR following the policies. They cannot talk this department and this department directly inside the teams due to some compliance reasons or regulatory issues, whatever. So whenever you try to apply these policies, of course, you can apply, and you're trying to find that person belongs to your conflicting segment. You cannot find that inside the teams. Other way, let's say if Pradeep is working into IT or into other department, that he will be visible for everyone. But if he working into the segment that is conflicting segment, you cannot see him whatever based on the roles. So that's actually clearly value add inside Microsoft Teams, that you can have lots of more controls and clear visibility that what's going on inside your environment. And Teams events as a part of Microsoft 365 audit, as I mentioned, that you can check that into the audit logs. You can choose that based on the teams. Let's say we find out some logs over here that we can go into audit search and we can pick it up, Teams events. Let's say, you see, if someone created Teams, deleted, added channel, if you want to check that, user assigned to the Teams, whatever, based on the conditions and the criteria, based on the files, path, URL, folder, whatever, you can search based on the all users or specific users. So you can audit retention policies if you have there. So in the same way, Teams having clear visibility that you can check that member is added outside, inside organization, what exactly they are doing in the system. That's important and really relevant for the organization to look end-to-end security, compliance, and governance. And then the next part comes in the picture that's also important. That is a CASB, Microsoft Cloud App Security. Now we call it Microsoft Defender for the cloud apps. That's really important. So I can try to show you in real time in the demos that if someone is trying to add the external user, something like that, you can create the policies. So let me go into the policy template. Let's say this one. These are policy templates. If, let's say, I can give you guys one example that I was working in last roles. We created a team. That team was private, and someone changed private to public, and there was a sensitive information. And I was asking my colleague, and she was asking me that, Khalid, who changed this? I said, I don't know. At that time, that company was not using that. So there's a way that you can implement that into this policy, and you can take the action if someone trying to change that policies, let's say controls, templates, and you can find out here Teams. And you say, okay, I want to create a Teams policy, access level is changed, single activity, make public to private. And you can say, like, based on the Teams selected with app, device tag, whatever you can choose, that must be client, hybrid ready join. So if someone needs to change this stuff, you can put the restriction that your device must be compliant. There you can check later on that who did that from which device exactly. If someone is just sitting outside of the organization on the personal device, they do this kind of activity, it's hard to track them also. And over here, activity type, whatever. So you can put it more activity types like private to public. Let's say channel setting change, channel is added. There is just to show you that how much you have a control with CASB solution into Microsoft Teams. If Teams is deleted, file is downloaded, so you have lots of based on the commands. So yeah, you can track it. And what action you can take, you can set up the alerts over there, and you can say, okay, if someone is changing this, please suspend the users, clearly, gone. And notify the user and suspend the user from Active Directory also if someone is doing that. And there you can take the actions, and you can put it the message that you try to change the team setting that is not compliant as per organization policy. So please contact your IT department, whatever. So let me move into the last part. Let's say if in ATP or Microsoft Defender for Office 365, you have safe attachments feature also. If some malicious files that uploaded to Microsoft Teams, that automatically get highlighted, and you cannot open that, and you can manage it also based on the safe links for Defender for Office 365. So thank you for our sponsors, and feel free to give us any feedback, or you have a question. So definitely I love to help you guys.
There was one question in the chat, so I can just read it. It's a question regarding licensing.
Yeah.
DLP for Teams channels and chat is an E5 feature?
It's the E3 part. It's part of E3.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you want to make automation, something like that, then it's a different stack. That if you want to make some automated DLP or endpoint DLP, that is another direction for E5, but at E3, you can get it with this.
Okay, so thank you for your nice session.